Okay, good afternoon everybody and welcome back to SunoikisisDC Digital Classics Summer Term 2021. Today is our 13th session of this semester, and today we have a session about eAQUA, okay, which is a text mining based program, and the acronym in English, Extraction of Structured Knowledge from Ancient Sources for Classical Studies. So eAQUA is a project born in 2008 and is a project constituted by different sub-projects, and today we have a presentation about the two most important tools of eAQUA, which is a tool developed for, in this case, not only for classical sources, but today we will see how this program can be used specifically for classical studies. And our guests today are Corina Willkommen and Jens Wittig, both from the University of Leipzig, where eAQUA was developed and still is used. And Corina is a PhD candidate at the Ancient History Chair in Leipzig, and Jens Wittig, a computer scientist working on the project eAQUA and working also on other projects for digital classics at the Ancient History Chair at the University of Leipzig. As usual, you have in GitHub a complete class outline with a complete description of this session with links to the tools that our guests will show us today. We also have readings, open access readings, and Corina and Jens wrote an entire monograph about eAQUA, which is available as a part of the Digital Classics book series. So you have this text, which is open access, and you also have other readings that were produced in the past as part of the eAQUA project. And you also have the possibility to use eAQUA, but I think that Corina and Jens today will show us how you can use it. You also have the possibility to access it with the username and the code and the password, but Corina and Jens will explain later how it is possible to access it. And due to licenses of corpora included in eAQUA, it's not possible to have a permanent access to this program, but in any case, we'll see today how we can use it. But now it's I have to say it's time for our speakers to start. So Corina will start. So Corina, Jens, thank you very much for joining us today and for presenting your work in SunoikisisDC Digital Classics. So please, Corina, now you have the word.
Yeah, thank you. I'm pleased to be able to give you a brief insight into the eAQUA program today, and I would like to thank you, Professor Berti, for this opportunity to show it here to a wider auditorium. I will start with a brief insight into the history of the project and will then guide you live through an exemplary work process through the two tools. Should I talk too quickly, or if you have any questions, so please let me know. eAQUA. Today's portal, eAQUA, which stands for Extraction of Structured Knowledge from Ancient Sources for Classical Studies, emerged from a project founding by the Federal Ministry of Education and Research. The founding comprised two phases from 2008 to 2011 and from 2011 to 2013. Classical scholars, early modernists and computer scientists under the direction of Professor Charlotte Schubert from the Chair of Classical Studies and Professor Heyer from the Chair of Computer Science took part in the first phase to examine the use of advanced tools from the field of text mining for the participating disciplines to be experimentally tested for the first time. In this first phase, this project comprised 8 sub-projects that developed methods from the field of text mining for application scenarios for different genres and source types. The aim of the interdisciplinary cooperation between humanists and computer scientist was to gain new and structured knowledge from the ancient or early modern sources and to further develop tools and processes from the text mining segment. In the second phase, this project was continued and coordinated by the Chair of Ancient History in order to enable sustainable and widespread use. The tools primarily dealt with in this phase, namely the co-occurrence search and the parallel search or quotation search, which were significantly further developed in the second project phase for application stability, enable the development of dependencies, influences, and transfer paths of knowledge on a larger scale. The co-occurrence search leads to the development of semantic connections between texts. The citation search enables the listing of text passages that represent parallels between a work and the entire reference work or text corpus. The tools represented here were created in the second phase of the project and have extensively developed and improved. They are offered on the website of eAQUA for use for freely accessible text corpora and for corporas that are subject to a license obligation for all interested parties. When using corpora that require a license according to the current state of copyright law, individual access to the protected area of the website is necessary. In the following years, since 2011, bachelor and master seminars with a digital focus have been held regularly. So we used eAQUA as a digital method and applied it in the principle of research-based learning. So we were able to test the tool in practice and use this knowledge to develop the tools. The best result of the seminar papers were published as students' publications in the working papers of the profile building area contested order at the University of Leipzig. One publication, the Protepticus of Jan Plich, is an outstanding result of a master seminar and was published in collaboration with the University Library Heidelberg and is an open source book. Also an open source book is what you kindly said, a manual that Mr. Wittig, so Jens, and I wrote, and what was published in 2019, also in collaboration with the Library of Heidelberg. It is also open source and free for download, so please feel free. Within this context of ongoing integration of the tools into teaching practice, it quickly became clear that despite the fact that the tools are designed to be intuitive for trained classical scholars, students have major problems with the complexity of the structure and the possibilities of working and needed a hands-on like this. And since I've been involved in these courses as a lecturer since 2011, I was given the task of preparing this manual, which was finally published, as I said, in 2019. And it's in a really easy to understand language, so every online translator should be able to translate it without any problems into English or other languages. For today's lecture, we have set up a time-limited access for you, so you can either understand the individual work steps in the program parallel to the lecture or try it later out on your own. Unfortunately, due to these licenses, we cannot grant you permanent access. So this access we offer you for today becomes invalid after 2 days. You can find the username and the code, the password on GitHub. That leads us to terms of use. The tools from eAQUA can be used on both free and licensed text corpora. So if you, yeah, you can see it here. You can see both free and licensed text corpora. We provide our tools here as far as they are independent of licensed text corpora for research and teaching purposes. The underlying texts are subject to different access rights. The text from the Perseus digital library are free, thanks to the team from Perseus. For other text, host license allow processing and analyzing for free. You can use non-commercial use in research and teaching. Our tools can be used to search for concurrencies and for the citation search.
And Corina, sorry, can you just zoom in a bit to the page? So I know because our okay, excellent. And if you okay, yeah, oh yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's good. Okay, this is good. Yeah, good. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So my task today is to give you a first insight on into the two tools that are the center of ancient studies and ancient study works. So the concurrence search and the citation search. And let's start. By choosing the tab Tools, you have the possibility to choose the co-occurrence analyze. I hope it's big enough. Can zoom in. So, like that.
Yes, it's perfect now. Yes.
So as I am logged in, if you're not logged in here is the button for the login. With the co-occurrence search, you have the possibility of searching for specific words using various ancient scholarly text corpora, also modern language corpora, as you see here. So it's divided into free corpora and other corpora, but other corpora means licensed corpora such as BTL, TLG, Patrologia Latina, and some subcorpora made out of the TLG. It is important to know about the licenses, and as you are a member of those institutions who have access to this license, it is possible for you to use all the licensed corpora, so no problem for this. As a result of a co-occurrence search, words with a similar context are displayed, which forms the basis for further historical analysis and interpretations. The results are visualized as a graph with edges and nodes, which graphically shows the co-occurrences. So you can visually see the corresponding dependencies. This is particularly important when the analysis results into the formations, for example, of clusters, as I will show you later. As you probably know, the term co-occurrence in linguistics generally refers to the common co-occurrence of two lexical terms within a subordinate segment. For example, if two terms often appear together in a sentence, there's a legitimate assumption of a relationship of dependency, whether of a semantic or a grammatical nature. Statistical calculations are used to determine dimensions for the suspected dependencies. So let's come to technical requirements. A corpus must be defined in which the occurrence of defined quantities, for example words, can be counted. These statistical parameters are the basis for the calculation. The corpus must also be segmented. For occurrences that are not directly left or right neighbors of a search word, maximal defined distances are required. Otherwise, every word would be connected to every word in the text, and the result is not usable. In eAQUA, the decision was made to use the unit sentence, so from one point to another, as a basis for the calculation. In addition to the neighborly co-occurrences, also sentence-based co-occurrences are specified. Also, the neighborhood occurrences and sentence occurrences were mainly calculated using probability calculations and a log likelihood measure of significance. The values determined also only meaningful in their relative order, which always provide an absolute value between 0 and 1. That means the higher the value, the more likely a connection. What leads us to the initial considerations, questions and approaches for starting a co-occurrence search. With the classic methodical approach, one would apply a predefined question to the tool. What means that you have a certain idea of which search term in a defined text should be examined for its dependencies. By using the co-occurrence search, the work process is somewhat different. The primary aim of the tool is not only to work on an existing question, but also to generate new questions during the work in progress. What at first seems obvious can turn out to be complex in the work process. I will go into that later. So let's start. After you log in and have full access to all corpora, you can make a choice between these offered text corporas as you see it here. We use for today the TLG, the Thesaurus Linguae Graecae, and you can use the virtual tastature for putting in a search word in this search mask. You could also use the word ID. The word ID is a specific number given to every word in the corpus and makes this word absolutely unique. So, as I prepared for this session, the word ID of 8647 is the word for Pericles. After starting, a table view occurs, as you can see here.
Okay, the zoom is perfect, Corina. So leave it. Yeah, the zoom is perfect now. Yes, perfect.
Okay, great. So the results can be sorted by the number of hits and the frequency of rare or frequent. For the search term mentioned, this word results in the number of hits of 652, as can be seen here on the frequency. So, display. Furthermore, the table view of the results can be sorted according to particularly frequent or seldom co-occurrences. What you see in the first part is a stop word list. A list of stop words enables you to sort them out of the overall results. These are previously defined words such as articles, pronouns, etc., which have no meaningful content, but they are so common that they have a lasting effect on the meaningfulness of the results. It is advisable to first hide the stop words, which means to search with the stop word list activated and only, if necessary, in the second step, with the deactivated stop word list. After the presentation of the result has been set, a tabular listening of the analyzed co-occurrences is obtained. I do try this really fast and we'll go back again. Okay. So, the result display is presented as a table of the result in several subcategories with a large number of words and co-occurrences. In the head of the table, there's a note on a search word with word ID and a number of hits. Below the table headers, the result is divided into the following categories. So words with the same normalized form, words with comparable content, significant co-occurrences, significant left co-occurrences, significant right co-occurrences, significant left neighbors, which are not every time co-occurrences, but they are significant left neighbors, and right neighbors. It should be mentioned that all these words are linked to a new search. So if you choose, for example, this word, a new search occurs. So please keep in mind everything you do has an effect. Okay, let's go back and hope it works. Perfect. So if you choose, that means that if you want to choose a co-occurrence, the result display is present. I'm sorry, I'm lost my text. Yeah. Again, so if you chose, for example, the word Kimon here as a left co-occurrent, you have to click into the number in the brackets to open a new window which show you a table view of all ancient text which contain also your first search word Pericles and the co-occurrence Kimon. So you are able to show also in this word tree the location of Kimon in the text structure. So this is a four part of the sentence, and that is the following part, and Kimon is in the middle. You can also manipulate this by clicking into the word tree, and as you can see, the table on the left side changed, so that we are now confronted with the new co-occurrence, in this case Themistocles, Kai Pericles, our search word. So you can see everything you do has an effect on everything. By clicking on this button, you reset everything and go back to the first chosen co-occurrence, Kimon. So let's go back to the results display. As you can see here on the left side, these are the links to the graph I will show you in some minutes. But before, I want to show you the table view on the upper part. This is a view for all searched texts which contain the main search word Pericles. And by clicking on Zeige alle, what means show all, again, the view with the table on the left side and the word tree on the right side occurs. But as it contains over 600 text references, it is absolutely not usable. So if you want to use and work with the word tree, you should limit the results by any manipulation. But if you want, you could, in this case, also copy the entire result table or export it as Excel in Excel format or as CSU. So to the graph. By clicking on this button, a new view occurs, and a graph with the main search word in the middle occurs. With the selection of one of the two graph variants, which only differ in the type of visual grouping of the nodes, a new window opens with a moving graph. An image processing bar opens on the right side with various tools to influence the display of the graph. The processing options are varied, and a distinction must be made between the representational and the calculating method. Changes in the representation mainly relate to the coloring of edges and nodes, font size, field window, and so on. The calculation method offers the possibility to visualize the graph again with another calculation. So you can choose this, and this has a totally effect on our graph. So you can move the graph. You can, if he is becoming too big and grow out the window, so no problem for this. By zoom in and zoom out, or by clicking this button, you can bring it back. So with variations of what I showed you, force direction, type, solver, physics, and so on, different graphs with the same database can result. The same rule applies here as for the word tree. Each selection has an effect. If you click on a co-occurrence within the graph, a new window will appear with the same list of text as previously in the table with a list of co-occurrences. Let me show you. So, as you can see here. And this is a nice word tree, as we only have 3 hits and so 3 sentences. It is absolutely usable. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, and you can open it in a separate tab to save it as a picture. It's on, okay, and gone. Okay. Where was I? Here. Okay, so now you have the option to edit the graph according to your IDs. In principle, you can change everything. As I said, the colors, the frames, the arrows, connections, and so on, but also the graffiti, dynamics, speed, and algorithms. You can also move and recenter the graph. You can also delete individual co-occurrences that may not be interested to you. By moving the cursor over the word, the frequency appears, if he would be calm enough. So, like that. So you go with the cursor over the co-occurrence and a little field with the TLG number, and the frequency is shown up. And by zooming out, the graph becomes smaller again. Okay. As you can see here, you can delete selected co-occurrences if you want. So that was the first part. I hope I was able to give you a first impression of the qualities of the tool with this really quick introduction. And now I would like to take the chance to talk about the advantages, but also about the limits of the possibilities of the tool. A clear plus is the speed and time savings when searching through large text corpora, such as the TLG or the PTL. I mean, imagine you have to compile a list of all passages in the text in which Pericles appears. So as I show you, we have a number of hits of 652. That's a massive work to do. So in principle, there's also the possibility of creating smaller corpora, as I show you here. So this is a subcorpus, this is a subcorpus, and this. But this is only possible for the administrator, which means that such inquiries have to be made via personal contact and unfortunately do not work interactively with the tool, as there are no personalized accounts. The quick overview of the dependencies between the search word and its co-occurrences is therefore also a plus. The results of the calculations, however, depends on the quality of the stored metadata and the quality of the imported text corpora. This applies above all to the free text corpora. Furthermore, only a single text edition is stored and not several. This is particularly problematic in the case of fragmentary texts that have been reconstructed in different ways in different editions and so on. There are other tools for questions like this, such as eComparatio, but they have no relations to our tools here. So you have to be content with one text version. This is not so relevant for many texts, but when it comes to inscriptions, for example, things getting complicated. But with most ancient texts, however, the difference is not serious, so that the analysis still provides meaningful results. There are also some citations that cannot be found, but that are considered as citations or takeovers in the classical analysis of classical publications. So what is the problem here? The program has a rule. We call it the 5 words rule. So if 5 words occur in a sentence, the program can find it. If this is not the case, the program cannot find it. The texts are then not displayed as a result because the calculation don't come to a result. But this 5 rule also leads to hit that there are not text matches in the sense of citations, quotations, or parallels, but are only general phrases or particular clusters, as I want to show you here as an example. So this is an analysis from Thucydides. Oh no. Okay, forget everything I said. This is a part for our next tool, but maybe you can keep in mind. I would know it. Oh, sorry. I lost it a little bit because I was too fast. Okay, I would close this first part for the co-occurrence search and go further to the next tool, the citation search or quotation search. You have to begin like, you have to start like by choosing the co-occurrence analyze, by choosing this demonstration citation tool on the eAQUA main page. And the first step is like at the co-occurrence search, you have to choose a corpus. Please remember everything is dependent on licenses or free corpora. We are again choosing the TLG. The citation analysis is an algorithm-based analysis of the text passages from the language statistic, which is based on the procedure of n-gram statistics. The text of the defined text corpus is searched for identically phrases and word combinations, which leads us back to the 5-word rule. So 5 identical words forming the basis for a displayed parallel passage between any text form. What mean one or more words of one other and the entire text corpus are compared. It should be noted that the basic text is also part of the main of the reference corpus, so it's gonna be compared with itself. You can solve this problem by choosing this preset. So that means without a self shot. So that means that our work we're gonna select in the next step don't occur in the reference main corpus. It is sorted out. You can choose to show only parallel text, which means you the basis text corpus is the same like the reference corpus. So the same author and the same work are compared with each other. And you can choose to for no manipulations and choose with reference parts from the same author, so nothing is sorted out. Okay. Yes, the self-comparison can be activated and deactivated using this button. You can also only displace these passages. The result of this automatic search is an output in a table and can be visualized in different views and different diagrams, as I'm going to show you in the next steps. But successful work with a citation graph requires a conscious examination of the aims of the search in advance. Various considerations are necessary for this, which are related to the functions or parameters of the citations graph. With access to a very large part of ancient Greek text, these restrictions are important, as the search yields a large number of hits and also relates to numerous different subject areas. So as you can see here, you have the whole TLG divided into authors and subtexts, as the most authors not only wrote one work but several. And I would like to show you one example, which is Plutarch. And as you can see, the author Plutarch has several works, and this search would lead you to 30,000 hits if you would choose the entire work of this author. You can do this by clicking into this field, so all sub-works are chosen, or you can make the decision for several works or only one, whatever you want. This is a starting point where we build our corpus, which we need. Yeah, I'm sorry, I lost my text. Okay, after looking. So, as I said, authors and works can be combined as you wish. The first question that always arises is which authors would you like to compare with other authors, or whether you want to compare certain works by one or more authors with one another. Also important is there any prior knowledge from you of these dependencies between authors and works, or are you looking for unknown dependencies? Or are you looking for an author's sources for a particular work? Or do you want to explore the reception of the work of one author or two or three or how much ever in later times? Or would you like to start with an author and his complete work, single work, and should several authors with several works shall be compared? And as you see, it's a question of limitation. In principle, you can compare anything with anything and everyone with everyone. With access to a very large text corpus, it is again important to limit. It should be noted that the composition at the beginning depends on these initial questions. Practice has shown, however, that it makes more sense to limit yourself to one author first and then to carry out several individual analyses. If you wish to analyze the entire work of an author, it is advisable to look at several single work steps, one after other, as the amount of data can be very extensive in some cases. By confirming the selection of works via the Start button here on the left side, the program begins the analysis whereby the corpus to be examined is examined in relation to the entire text corpus of the selected corpus. And we gonna take, in this case, Thucydides and the Historie. So, oh, that was fast. Okay. After the selection has been confirmed, the tool starts the analysis and delivers all the result it finds as a numbered table of results. In the standard setting, the preset, the results are sorted in descending order according to the calculated similarity values. Beginning with 100, what means 100% agreement between the original sense and the reference text. As shown in this view, which is fortunately in English, the result of the analysis is displayed as a dataset in 13 columns. The result can be sorted in the columns alphabetically, numerically, according to date, similarity, work structure. In the standard preset, these parameters are already specified with a similarity of 200 to 60, as you can see here on the similarity range. Of course, you can manipulate and give the program a minute of time. And it's as you can see here on the right side, Zeilen means datasets, authors, and works. So now we have, by manipulating the similarity range, hits of 1,563 by 93 authors in 147 works. So if you're searching for a special author, you can choose him by using this list. Or you can also, it strikes, okay, sort alphabetically, whatever you want. As you can see here, we also have a century range, a filter dating, so it is preset with a full range, no manipulation, no limitation. By manipulate, the whole table changes, and now we have a small number of 836 hits and 52 authors and 85 works, and so on. Go back. Okay. So, in the column original sentence, all text passages of the previously selected text corpus, as you remember Thucydides text corpus, calculated by the program are listed. Reference text passages are assigned to these text passages, which result from the comparison of the original text with the entire text corpus. If the analysis shows a match of 5 consecutive words, the text passage is given as a positive result, regardless of whether the content is meaningful or not. Though the columns original sentence, original author, original publication, and original DC are assigned together, whereby the former names the author to of the selected corpus, followed by the edition on which it is based. The last one shows the corresponding source reference within the edition. Here, as you see. This numbers mean so like book 1, capital, section 22, line 4, and so on. Yeah, as it stands. Okay, references. In addition to the pure text, the name of the original and reference authors are given with a corresponding TLG number. The other columns relate to the reference work, author, publication, DC, dating, author name, author epitates, author ID, and author work ID. Editorial notes are added to the reference author as well as the edition on which the text is based and the corresponding source reference within the edition. It's the same like for the original DC. Here we go. The dating relates to the live data of the reference author and usually does not describe safe data, but a period of time. If dating is not possible, a fantasy value of 2222 is used, as a number must be entered in the corresponding field for technical reasons, and the 0 is not functional. So you have also the possibility to search into the reference in Greek with diacritic signs. So you can do this by copy and paste, or you change your tastature and search for everything you want. The similarity, as you can see here. The similarity value describes the percentage agreement between the original and the reference text, indicated in the whole numbers from 1 to 100. If you can set the desired similarity value using this range. In practice, the range from 100 to 60 has proven to be efficient, so this range is preset. The tool is designed to find matches between two texts that match, how I said, 5 words or tokens, and thus defines the match between original sentence and reference. In the case that two text passages are very different length are related to each other, the similarity value can falsify the value of the can be false. It is therefore essential to analyze the text passages precisely, even with when they have slow similarity values. To show you one example, I would like to lead you to this example. This is a different subcorpus of Herodotus, as you can see here. I try to mark the passage, the example. And we have a reference author, which is Thomas the Magister, the so-called Magister. And we have a similarity of 50. So it is under the preset of 100 to 60%. But as you can see, if you can read the Greek, I hope, as you can see, the entire sentence of Thomas the Magister is a part of this very larger sentence of Herodotus. So indeed, it is 100% takeover or 100% citation. And if you take a look in the text, Thomas also mentioned Herodotus as his query. And so please don't be afraid of small similarities, although they can also be meaningful results. And as another, where it is here. Another comparison between the work of Herodotus and Athenaeus' Daphne shows how a finished citation analysis can look like after the historian's work is done. In this case, too, the similarities were recognized by the program and calculated, but the full scope of the citation transfer from Athenaeus is only visible in the post-processing view of the result. So as you can see, I hope you can see it. Maybe I can make it bigger. Yeah. We have a whole text passage from Herodotus, which shows several citations take over from Athenaeus in the Diagnose of History. So the colored sentences are actually 100 take over 100 citation. And so you can see that Athenaeus not only take one single sentence from Herodot, but the whole series of sentences, which is important if you are interested in the historical method of Athenaeus' workflow. So it is important to check every similarity in the historical analysis and not be afraid of large or small values. Okay, so let's go back to Thucydides. Back here. Okay. When it comes to evaluating the results we see here in front of us, the following questions are important. So, such as, are the references verbatim quotations or verbatim quotations within a larger context, or adaptation of content and those references between authors? Are the references dependencies between authors and work? Or does the reference author possibly indicate a source reference in previous passage in the text? So is he given the name of an author or work, as we saw in the text of Thomas the Magister, who named Herodotus as his query? So there are several possible solutions to approach these questions and deal with the results. For these solutions, we have different options to begin with the analysis. As you can see in the upper left, much bigger. As you can see in the upper left, you will not only see several export functions here on the left side in download options, but also two buttons on the right side that lead you to the different chart views here and here, chart view 1 and chart view 2. Please consider all views are connected with each other, which means that every change in one view also affects the others. You can switch back and forth between the views at any time. So there are 3 of them: the table view, the chart view 1, and the chart view 2. Via chart view 1. Monica, is this visible?
Yes, it is, yes.
Okay, thank you. Via chart view 1, you enter a specific solution for the analysis based on the chronology of the authors and texts, so the reference authors. 2 charts appear in the main part. citations per author and century, and number of citations by century, as well as a third pie chart with a numerical breakdown of the results by the authors in the upper part. By clicking on one area in the diagrams, the other diagrams will also change. In the last step, select an author from the pie chart. So you have here Constantinus VII Porphyrogenitus and 3 works of him. So the pie chart is a result of this selection and gives us the possibility to have a look in a new table view, which occurs on the lower part here, as is the same table view like before. So this table contains every works we selected from Constantinus. When we select now only one work, a new chart view occurs and shows you by the numbers here the different percentages of citations in the different parts of the work. So you can click here and have everything from book 1, as you can see here. So if you want to go back, you can just click to another or change to table view. Everything is set back. And you can go back and everything is at point 0 again. So you have the possibility to change this diagram view by using the chart editor on the right side here. So now I have a possibility to use several different visualizations and diagrams as you want it and what you wish. Like this, for example. You can also download or export this chart view by as image, as a CSV table, or as SVG. Okay, so in this case, you will come to the result by the chronology of the reference authors. This is particularly advantageous if you are interested in specific periods of time and in the reference authors themselves, who may either have acted as a source of the source text, so Thucydides as his query, or if you are interested in authors who have taken over Thucydides as a source for the text of them. And by manipulating the diagrams, by choosing, you can take as a first step the century, or you can take the citations on this side also per century as you wish. And click then through the authors you wanted to have a closer look. Also, this table view is able to be downloaded by this button on the left side. Okay, now let's change the chart view and go to chart view 2. And as you can see, there's a big blue button. Chart view 2 provides access to a further specific solution for the analysis based on the distribution of the reference points over the sections of the original works in many levels. So the first step is to click in. So this is our main corpus we research. That's the Thucydides corpus and the Historia as his work. And by clicking, it opens a new chart view with separation into the sections of this work. So this is book 1, 2, 3, and so on in the Testimonial. And as you can see, the reference text are shown as a percentage. So if you click or choose any of this references, as you can see here, we have a number of 183 references, reference texts for book 1. And these are the authors, and we have 29 authors. Okay, but let's go back. So by clicking this, also a table view occurs and show you all reference texts which are assigned to original text from book 1. So this way of solution goes not over by the reference authors, but the main corpus itself. You have also the possibility to divide the chosen section, in this case, book number 1, by detailed selections. So book number 1 and chapter 1 and 6 and 18 and so on and so on and so on. And you have a very detailed view of the high or low percentages divided into these sections. So, for example, we have a really high result here in book number 17. So 17 references. And if you choose this, again, the table view change, and you have all original sentences from book 1 and the references assigned. Okay. So also, as in the chart view 1, you have again the possibility to export everything you want in different formats, or change the view of the diagram and sort it like you want it and like you need it. Okay. Now it's time, I think, for my example. As I wanted to show you before, there are some problems with, or not problems, but you have to mention, if you work with this analyze, please remember the 5 words rule. That means, as you maybe, I hope you can see it. These are 2 texts from Thukydides himself, as you see here, original authors of Thukydides and also Thukydides on this side. So at first, one might think he takes his self-quotations and takes, what is this? So, and as you can see, the similarity with 67 is quite high. And of course, we have 5, 6, 7, 8 following words, identical words, but it is not a meaningful citation, as the difference between the 2 texts is the number of the year. So here we are in the 7th year in the winter of the Peloponnesian War. And here we are in the 17th year, I think, when I remember correct. Yeah, and so the winter of the 7th year of the war ended, and in the next, and so the winter of the 17th year of the war ended. So of course the program calculated this text as a high similarity citation. Actually, it is just a phrase Thukydides used really often through his whole work, and in the historical analysis, it's your part to sort this out. Okay, where am I? Here. Okay. So I could show you some more possibilities to deal with the diagram views, but maybe you have some questions, and I would then end my little introduction into the tools of eAQUA, and looking forward to answer, hopefully, your questions. Thank you.
Okay, so Corina, thank you very much for this presentation. Well, little presentation in the end, not so little, because considering in any case the complexities of this project, you have been able to give us a sense, at least of these two tools. And I think that we can see now, well, the complexities of co-occurrences, and then definitely text reuse. So here you showed us very interesting examples when detecting text reuse. The results are really very interesting. But I think we can start with questions. So we have people in our chat on YouTube. I know that we have people on YouTube, and so okay, there are people commenting. Yes, the tool is powerful. So Anise, our friend from Brazil. Okay, also there was a question in the chat before the file formats. We have, I think, Corina already answered to this question, because exactly, so here we can see exactly, so we have, yes, it's possible to export data in different file formats, CSV, XML, and you also have the charts that are very interesting, so you can explore them and use them for different purposes. And then there was another interesting question. So about okay, the corpora. There are the so Corina mentioned the different corpora included in eAQUA, and yes, an interesting aspect is that we have both open corpora like Perseus and OGL, the Open Greek and Latin corpus developed in Leipzig. But also okay, corpora that are not open like the TLG. So this question in this case for the TLG definitely, so is eAQUA connected to the current TLG database for the subscribers? So can you answer this question?
You mean by current the actualized version of the TLG online, I think?
Yes.
Jens, are you here?
I'm here. The answer is no. It's quite difficult to become the actual version of the TLG. You have only the possibility to use it online, but not load any text on your computer or copy it out. It's not allowed to do this with the actual version from the TLG online.
So, do you remember which version we have? I thought it's a version of 2013, but I'm not so sure.
It's a TLG version E from 2000, I think.
2000. Okay.
Yes, if I remember correctly, well, first, for our audience, okay, for classicists, we know what is the TLG. The TLG is a project with a paywall, so we can access the TLG both as private subscribers with a subscription or through an institutional subscription. But if I remember correctly, eAQUA had an agreement with the TLG back in the past, and this is the reason why we have in eAQUA the version E of the TLG, which is, I think, also the last, the version of the last CD-ROM of the TLG. And yes, now is basically is not possible to connect a project like this with the current online version of the TLG. Not only, I think, for the fact that TLG has a paywall, I think there are also other technical difficulties. I know by experience that it's possible, for example, to link a project with the outputs of certain queries. I'm doing that, but really accessing the corpus, the entire corpus through another project is not possible. I think that in any case, this part is interesting. Well, the biggest part of the corpus in any case is already there. But another interesting thing is that back in the past, the original idea was not just to of course, not to republish the TLG corpus, but to mine the corpus of the TLG, which is a discussion we have today also about open access or copyright or materials protected by copyright. So there is a discussion in the community. Of course, we don't want to, or we can't, republish materials which is protected by copyright, but the important thing is to be able to search also materials protected by copyright, which is the usual problem, in digital classics and digital humanities. Many people say, okay, we are using old data. Yes, but because we can't use materials protected by copyright. And I think that in this case, the eAQUA project back in 2008 and even before already tried to overcome this problem. And in this case, we see the results. But yes, answering this question is not possible. And still, in any case, the agreement is to use the TLG version E. And for later text, of course, you have to consult, especially for text, after the classical era, you have to consult the TLG online, which is now providing a few tools for aligning text, not really text reuse detection, but textual alignment, but still now. So eAQUA started a few years ago with these experiments. Yeah, other possible questions. So in the meantime, maybe I can comment. I didn't say that at the beginning. Yes, this is a German project, and as Corina said, of course, for example, for the publications, because there are a few monographs, interesting monographs about the project and describing results, that you can get using these projects. So the monograph written by Corina and Jens is about eAQUA and how to use it, but other monographs I know that specifically comment also the results that you get using eAQUA. They are in German, as Corina said. In any case, they are written in a German that can be translated also by the machine if you don't know the language, which is an interesting note. Okay, yes, thank you. This is I think this is important because, of course, English is the language of digital humanities, digital classics, for different reasons, but also because the programming languages are originally in English. But of course, the effort is to expand the languages that we use in our community, and in this case, we have an interesting example. Okay, so if you want to learn German using eAQUA, you can do that because you have these tools if you're interested in digital classics and digital humanities. And of course, also the tools are in German, partly also in English, but frankly speaking, they can be used even if you don't have a deep knowledge of German in this case, because of course they include classical sources and different editions. But I think this is interesting, okay, again, given that the effort is to expand the languages that we use in our community. Also, well, of course, I think we can ask many questions because you showed many interesting examples for the occurrences. Of course, for my part, I'm interested in text reuse, definitely, because I have been working on fragmentary text and text reuse detection, and I think that this tool is very interesting. Just a note, as you said, of course, you can, let's say, filter the similarity in order to get different kinds of results. But this is the interesting thing. So there is a lot of work that has to be done by the human being, by the scholar, okay, because the machine, I think this is a very interesting example where you get results that, of course, have to be processed by scholars, by people who know classical languages and who know problems concerning text reuse. The last example about Thucydides is very interesting. So we can see reuses within the same author. So the author is not citing himself technically, but he's reusing sentences and formulas. And I think that this example was very interesting because we know that the history of Thucydides has this chronological structure, and he repeats these formulas to date, to structure the chronology of the Peloponnesian War by winters and summers. This is an interesting example. Maybe we can say, okay, if we know the text of Thucydides, we know that, but still not really, because this is something that we know by reading the text in a linear way. In this case, we have an immediate extraction of these results, and this can be important for other authors where we can find hidden reuses. This is, I think, an interesting example. Other examples are also I think those about fragmentary authors, and this is an interesting thing, because today by text reuse detection in digital humanities we mean, of course, an alignment among text. And you showed the example of Athenaeus reusing Herodotus. In this case we have both texts, and this is interesting because we can align both texts, and so we can see how Athenaeus is reliable, or at least how Athenaeus is reusing Herodotus. Of course, we know that Athenaeus was interested in a specific lexicon, so he's not really interested in preserving Herodotus, but he has a focus. So this is the text reuse where, we align text. Another interesting thing is the alignment of editions. This is why, for example, in the results that you were showing us before, we can see the names of fragmentary authors. So technically, fragmentary authors, lost authors are lost. That's it. So we don't have them. But in this case, we can get these results because we have editions of fragmentary authors in the TLG corpus and in other corpora, which is, in my experience, a problem in the sense that technically the same text is repeated many times. We know that, which is a well-known problem, but because digital libraries still depend on printed editions. For example, in the TLG, we have the text of, Athenaeus, but we also have the editions of the lost authors that Athenaeus cites. So technically, the same text of Athenaeus is repeated in the corpus different times. This is another, but this is important because, of course, one of the goals of this corpora is to preserve printed editions. But again, as scholars, we have to filter those results, remembering these aspects, because in the end, the text is just one, the text of Athenaeus, of course, according to different editions, but lost authors are lost, are not extant authors. So I think that through your examples, we could see really interesting results. And another aspect that I can add, for example, for the alignment, sometimes we don't find 100% of agreement, but again, because we depend on editions also. I know that by experience. We can have a different punctuation in different editions of the same text, or, for example, in different editions, of Athenaeus and other editions of Herodotus or fragmentary authors. And we can get a lower percentage because there are differences in edition. For example, in the use of the punctuation, which is something that is added later and definitely is used in a different way by different editors. I know this problem also for example, for the OCR output, which is not the case here because technically these texts are, especially those of the TLG, are already post-corrected, so technically you don't have OCR mistakes. But for example, given that you're using the Open Greek and Latin corpus in eAQUA, you also have to consider that you can still find OCR errors or also problems concerning, for example, the use of Unicode. I know that because, for example, the text can be correct in Greek, but there are differences, for example, in the character encoding, and maybe the text reuse detection can highlight these differences, even if they are not evident because you don't see them. But I'm talking too much, I think, so probably you want to add something. Sorry.
I would like to add something. At first, the question for the current version of the TLG. I think that's an important point, but I think the corpus of the TLG is extensive, even if it is not the actual version, and I'm not so sure. I think that does not necessarily affect the results, as the later versions, also the actual versions of the TLG, have the late ancient authors, so our classical authors, that doesn't concern. So I just wanted to edit this because it sounded like, okay, it's not the current version, how can we use it? It's useless. No, it's not. It's a question what you're searching. If you're searching for late ancient church father authors, okay, this is a problem because the newer versions of the TLG have them, but our version don't. And they don't have, that's not included, that's right, well, not all. And I want to take your attention to another hint. Can you share my screen again? Thank you. It's in German, but I try to translate. As you can see here in this red sentence, there's a hint from me. That's a break in the citations because of the punctuation marks. So this is a commata, just a commata, and it leads to a break. And here Athenaeus used not a commata but a point, and that makes this whole sentence a new sentence. But in original, this sentence part was part of the original sentence of Herodot, but Athenaeus decided to make a new whole sense out of this sentence, and this concern the similarity, and it changes from let's say 90 to 60%, and this is interesting, but also a problem. And it should keep in mind that every similarity should be checked. I would say between 20 and 100%. Maybe under 20%, the possibility to find a citation is very low. But everything in between is just possible. Yeah, that was just a hint from me at last. Thank you.
Yes, so Corina, thank you for the your first comment about the TLG. Yes, definitely. As I said before, of course, the main, let's say, the main part of classical authors is there. We know that TLG is adding every year a new text, especially later sources. And again, of course, sometimes the TLG is also changing editions, but it's also removing authors and numbers, which is another, because the TLG is a living corpus still, of course, because it's a living project. But again, this doesn't really affect eAQUA. At least the main goal of eAQUA is to show how to use these tools for concurrencies analysis, for text reuse detection, and in any case, you can get the results. And in any case, you also have to consult other editions. For example, the problem of more editions for the same work, which is still a problem. Now, in these years, we are trying to overcome this problem. In the OGL corpus, we are adding more editions. The TLG is just now adding more editions for the same work because, of course, the community needs time. Okay, adding more editions is time-consuming, is difficult, and so that's it. For the other thing, yes, the punctuation, exactly. We can find different punctuations in different editions of the same text, and this is something that we can see in the results of eAQUA, which is interesting because this adds another level of let's say results, because we can see how editors, modern editors, philologists publish their text, how they interpret these texts by using different forms of punctuation. So we really have different levels, the Greek text, the reconstructed text, the punctuation, and which is something really very, very interesting. And then I think, well, there are, of course, I think we have, unfortunately, our time is almost over, but one thing maybe about, still about the citation tool, so the agreement. So behind because today we have seen the interface and the results we can get, but in order to, well, two questions. One about filtering the similarity, so the percentage, what does this mean? So if you are new to eAQUA, you say, okay, I want to filter. What do you filter exactly? First question. And then the second question is about, you mentioned generically the algorithms behind eAQUA. So how you detect this similarity? Can you say briefly something about that? I know this is a complex question, but can you give some more information about it?
As I'm not computer scientist, I would lead this question to Jens, but if you want to know it in detail, you can also take our manual. We described the algorithms in the last pages, and as I said, the language is really easy, so the Google translator can really translate it easy, and there are several more works, also in German, unfortunately, about this topic. And Jens, would you say something to the used algorithms? Is it possible?
The evaluation of the similarity of parallel passages or of the concurrences?
Parallel.
The parallel passage. It's an unconventional calculation method. Is based on the edit distance, or also known as Levenstein distance. It states how many insert, deletion, and replace operations are necessary to transform one string into another. The advantage of such signification measures is that you become an absolute value between 0 and 1, or optionally as persistent value between 0 and 100%. The disadvantage is the different lengths of the strings to be examined. that greater the difference in length is that less significant is a parallel position, even in the case of an exact match, how you formally explained on your examples.
Thank you. I opened the calculation algorithm on my screen. Maybe you want to see it? Yeah. Okay. So you can have a look at the calculations in our book. We made it open and transparent. So you have the possibility to take a look on calculating basics and the algorithms. Please don't let me explain this. That's not my business, really not. I know how to use it, not how to build it. Okay.
Of course. No. But this, thank you very much for this answer, of course. And my question was for a short answer. You mentioned the Levenshtein distance, which is a well-known distance used for these kinds of, for example, for text-to-use detection. But of course, there is some work because, of course, I think you modified the Levenshtein distance in order to get your results. And thank you, Corina, for showing the page of the monograph, which is accessible for free online. Open access is a monograph of the Digital Classics book series, so you can access it. You can find a clear, detailed description of the distance and the modified distance used in the project, together with other, of course, methods and algorithms. And of course, I'm not asking you to explain this, but I just wanted to show that everything is documented for this project.
But you had another question.
Well, no. It was about also the filtering the similarity. But I think that this is something that is explained in the monograph. So as a user, okay, when you want, I know that, so you have the possibility, and in this case, we still have your screen. In the left upper part of the screen, you can see that it's possible exactly to filter the similarity. And as a user, I can say, so experiment with it. And again, filtering it and changing the percentage, you can immediately see the results and understand how the system works. Exactly. So I think that it's that. So unfortunately, our time is over now, and we have to finish. But I want really to thank you both for joining us for Sunoikisis. Finally, we could. This is the first presentation of eAQUA, and I'm happy that today we were able to have a presentation of eAQUA, which is a tool that really is a powerful tool for various reasons, including the fact that eAQUA started back in 2008 to use corpora behind the paywall. Is not open, or at least you can access it, but you need a login, you need a password. If you're interested in using the project, you can get in touch with Corina and Jens. So it's just to have more information. And of course, if you have specific needs, I think that they can give you access to this tool, and so you can experiment with it. And also, please access the documentation and the monographs that have been written on eAQUA. But now, so unfortunately, as I said, our time is over. We have to conclude the session. Thank you very much, really, for this complete, detailed session considering the complexity of eAQUA. So next week we will have another session. We will have next week and the following one, we have our two final sessions of this semester. And in that case, the two sessions will be about Egyptology. So we move beyond classics. We decided to include also two sessions about Egyptology. Next week we will have Rita Lucarelli and Franziska Netter for a project about the Book of the Dead in 3D. And then the final session will be a session about the Turing Papyrus online platform from with Susanne Töpfner for a project about the database of the papyri of the Egyptian Museum in Turin. Okay, so but for today, I thank you. I thank really many thanks to our guests and also many thanks to our audience. Corina will give us also her slides. And so, good night, good morning, good afternoon. We have a big audience all around the world. And okay, so, and see you next week. Bye, bye, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.